I finished Thimbleweed Park.
Finished it?
Yeah.
You haven't had that long?
A couple of weeks, a month,
Right.
maybe more. I haven't been playing solidly. It's not that long a game, but it is longer than you think.
Okay.
All the way through, you're thinking, "Oh, this is only a 4 or 5 hour game," and then after a while, you're thinking, "Actually, this is a proper."
Honestly,
length
had no idea about expectation. I'm trying to think how long Monkey Island and its ilk.
They're not that long.
They weren't that long.
No,
were
you
they?
can black through them quite quickly.
I think they seemed longer because you would genuinely get stuck and have
I
to
will
really
admit,
think about it.
I've
for
been
long periods.
genuinely getting stuck in this.
Okay, yeah.
And mostly avoiding looking up solutions.
Well, this is it. I mean, this modern day and age, it's
if you
a
followed
lot
a
more
walk
difficult.
through, you could probably black through it in
An
3,
hour,
4 hours.
2 hours,
Maybe
yeah,
it's still quite long, I think.
I suppose, well, that was gameplay back then. That was longevity. The idea, not so much working through the game itself would take the time. It's resolving the puzzles and problems. That thinking about it on your own time type aspect of it, which I don't think you get so much nowadays. It is, you got waypoint markers, you got quest trackers, you got big world maps with hatched areas.
Instead of you need to charge this battery, it's a go here, charge this battery.
Yeah, most games will just tell you what to do repeatedly, and it's a question of executing it, and that's not so bad if the gameplay itself requires some skills. But if the gameplay requires no skills and the thinking about it has been taken out of your hands as well, then I suppose you start to ask questions about what is a game.
We're back into that conversation.
Is this a film? Interactive movie, whatever.
I refer everyone back to Uncharted and the whole. Actually, is this just a story we're watching or interacting with? Yeah.
But how difficult was the parkouring and the fighting in that?
Not really.
Yeah, well, this is it.
The parkouring and fighting in Thimbleweed Park are easy.
Yeah. Well, this is it. The old point and click adventure. You didn't have anything in the way of dexterity based. I mean, it might be the occasional timed puzzle here and there, but largely it is a mental game, not a reflex game.
There were a couple of timed bits, but they were basically a case of do something repeatable quickly enough, and one of them took me a couple of times of doing it to figure out what to do, but that repeated quick enough that it wasn't a problem. And the other one I'm thinking of, I did everything that needed to be done before the timer ran out comfortably.
So the games of that style and that era were largely mental exercises. They were entirely puzzle based.
And like I've said before, this isn't obtuse.
Okay.
This isn't. But this doesn't use crazy moon logic.
The moon logic.
This is actually a nice, friendly. Most of the stuff's logical. Some of it is possibly a little bit weird. You have to read every bit of text and understand what you're reading.
They give you all the
Look
clues
at the
you
descriptions, and it is there. And when I got stuck a couple of times and looked it up and gone back and looked at the description, I said, "Oh yeah, that is actually signposted. I just missed the signpost."
Yeah. So the whole thing made sense within its own internal. Yeah. Did you say that there was different modes to this?
There's 2 modes. I've not played it in easy mode. I played it on difficult mode, or whatever they called it. I forget. All of the puzzles are their mode. There's also an easy mode, which I think just cuts out an awful lot. But I'm going to play it again on it
just to see what the difference
it's
is.
like. But I think it just cuts out a lot of the steps on the puzzles.
Okay.
Like, I know from what people have described, there's a puzzle where you have to get some ink. But to get the ink, you have to get some ash out of a fireplace, which means burning something in the fire, which means creating fire, and step back till you get the problem solved. And in the easy mode, it's just a case of you find ink.
Fair enough. So they sort of bypass a lot of it.
Yeah, and I think the
the
ones
puzzles,
they've
at least.
bypassed are the harder puzzles.
The ones that are a little less intuitive, I suppose. Yeah.
If it's obviously that A and B need to be used together, that puzzle's still there.
Yeah.
If it's A and B need to have C, D, E, and F done to them, then that's been collapsed down, I believe.
So it's an interesting choice. Obviously, you're trying to market to the people who loved the old LucasArts stuff in the olden days, who were fine with moon logic and can follow it a bit themselves, but also a newer generation of gamers who are perhaps not quite so, perhaps more easily frustrated. I don't know.
Not quite so patient, because you do have to be patient still, because you are going to get frustrated. You're going to hit a point where in other games I would stop playing and I would get annoyed, but because it's an old point-and-click adventure, I know that that's what I've got myself in for.
Yeah.
It's like with the island game, The Witness.
The Witness, yes.
You're expecting on that when you're playing it to get stuck.
Yes.
And getting stuck is not a problem.
I did in the end look up one spoiler, mostly because I had reached the end of my frustration.
But if you're playing, say, Halo or Uncharted or Gears of War...
You wouldn't expect something like that to come up.
If you get to a bit where you're stuck, the game developers have gone wrong.
Yeah, it depends what you're what is the basic nature of the game. If mental puzzles and logic and reasoning are the basic gameplay mode,
Then you have to expect that those are going to
then
be.
there's going to be some it's going to be some difficult stuff. Then you're going to have to think about it, work your way through the problem, look for more clues, whatever. But if you come across some rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle type problem in the middle of a Halo run through, then
I've been trying to buy a rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle. I just want to.
Does
own
anyone
one.
know what the rubber chicken and the pulley in the middle is?
It would just.
It will definitely show your age if you do.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so it is about expectation. This is why people get so cross about the vehicle level.
Yeah.
Or the sudden timed quick time exercise. If what you're doing
By people, do you mean me?
Me too. I mean, if you're suddenly presented with something that is utterly at right angles to the basic game experience in the middle of something you're enjoying, you're rightly going to get quite cross.
I must finish that final mission on Halo for my lost place.
It sounds like Thimbleweed Park's sort of internally consistent.
It's internally consistent,
all the way through.
Well designed, very, very well written. Also, it does a nice thing where normally I would say that this is a problem, but in this it isn't. Where the first section is quite long, the second section shorter, and they get shorter and shorter and shorter until there's one section which is just one scene, and then it starts getting longer again.
But that's more of a sort of story narrative resolution,
and it actually works quite well because I've for a while was thinking I've almost finished this.
Yeah.
And then it turned out I hadn't because there was another bit coming. But each new bit they added on was shorter.
Yeah.
Because to start with, you're trying to solve a murder.
Yeah.
And then, no spoilers, but you solve it. Well, somebody gets arrested for that murder.
But that's not the end of the story.
And that's not the end of the story.
Yeah. Is the story good? See, this is the danger with something like, in say Moon Logic, LucasArts game, that on the one hand you're trying to tell a narrative story that is entertaining and makes sense and consistent, but on the other hand the player is having to stop every 2 minutes to spend about 5 or 10 minutes looking for a rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle, and by the time you've done this sort of arbitrary Moon Logic puzzle, you've forgotten what you were doing, who the characters are, the tension's dissipated entirely.
No, because there's very little tension in it. Because instead of it following a narrative, you're piecing together what's happened.
Okay.
Because you're either trying to solve a crime or later on trying to figure out what happened about another thing.
Which works well with this sort of format, I guess.
You're basically investigating. So you're at no point do you feel, I should be racing forwards to do this in time, but I'm stuck doing this. Which happens quite a lot.
Well, that particular...
That's the Skyrim issue.
The Skyrim problem, and also Witcher 3, apparently. There's this big ongoing life or death drama thing going on, but you can come back anytime you
There's
want.
a war about to kick off, but I'm going to go sort out this village because,
I mean, Skyrim sort of attempts to force the issue by having dragons attack you every sort of fifth time you map travel, that kind of thing, just to keep you on focus. But with a point and click adventure, it's much more narratively driven because the gameplay itself isn't the core thing. It's I suppose
but in this case, it's all you're passive to the story.
Yeah, you're sort of coming along afterwards and trying to find out what happened rather than what's
you're trying to find out who was this person, why was he killed, and what has happened to the town, why did this business shut down, all of these things, what happened to this person.
So the story is there, but you essentially are a spectator.
Yeah.
And uncovering more of it. That's probably why police procedurals work quite well as a narrative form.
Yeah, you can control the pacing so much easier.
Yeah, because the drama has all happened in one go, and it's the story. The episode itself is about revealing the story through the narrative of the investigators.
Take the pinnacle of narrative storytelling on TV.
Yeah,
which is Midsummer Murders.
Here we go.
Where the murder's in the first 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time is them trying to solve the murder with more murders going every so often just before an outbreak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a useful narrative form.
When Shakespeare came up with that form of storytelling, he knew what he was doing.
Police procedural. Yeah. So something else I was thinking about, is this the dawn of a whole new rebirth of the genre, or is this a one-off nostalgic?
This is a one-off by Ron Gilbert, and I don't think that if anyone but Ron Gilbert came along and did it, it would have half the impact or be half as good.
So you don't think anyone cares or wants more of this stuff? It was just hey, remember Monkey Island? That was good.
Yeah, it's not going to rejuvenate the genre. You may get some other people trying to do it, but because it's him, because he can call back to so many. I hate to say it's the Big Bang Theory school of comedy.
Yes.
Which is, do you remember this thing? We all laugh now. Look, they mentioned this thing.
Yeah.
Which, it's not a joke.
Lots
it's
of
a reference.
callbacks.
There's lots and lots of callbacks to old games, old Sierra games, old Lucas games,
Yeah.
or LucasArts games, and you couldn't get away with that again. So it'd have to be something new.
But as the form, is the point and click adventure with the little grid of verbs in the corner in your inventory and stuff, is and the 2D people wandering around. Are we going to see much more of that?
No, you'll get the odd indie person putting one out, but it's not going to go mainstream because it's still niche, and it went away.
It is a big nostalgia thing.
It is a big nostalgia thing, and a lost hurrah for the genre potentially.
We're getting a lot of that lately. The kickstarts for occasional rebirths of old long dead genres, things like Pillars of Eternity and
Elite,
Numenera. Yeah, Elite. Yeah, I mean, Thimbleweed Park is that for Monkey Island. I mean, it's like everyone's sort of harking back to fond childhood gaming memories now that a lot of us are starting, in our 40s or getting there.
Well, I think the difference is the point and click adventure. Without wanting to ruin it for anybody, was not that many companies doing the good ones.
I think Delphine, Sierra...
Yeah, you had the Sierra, you had the LucasArts, you had the Simon the Sorcerers, you had the Discworld, you had the Police Quest, Space Quest. All of these actually spread out over 20, 30 years.
But there was only like 4 or 5 different companies doing them.
Whereas Space Games, one of the reasons why Space Games died was everyone was doing them, and there was just too many of them.
And the ones we don't remember.
Yeah, and people. Well, you had iWar and Tachyon the Fringe, and
there's a load.
Some games good, some games bad, but there was just lots and lots of them, and then the individual sales dropped down on all of them, and I think that's what possibly killed the Space Sim in the end.
I think just generally as gamers, we're often in search of the new experience, the new form. So yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really good, and it's possibly going to be my game of the year.
Okay. Cool.
Because I can determine that.
I haven't even begun to think about that. It's like months away.
Yeah. Yeah, it is that good, and I don't see that I'm going to get around to playing any other games.
Right. That probably says more about you than the game.
No, I don't know if anything else is going to come out which is going to affect me quite as much. And it is purely nostalgia. I don't know how someone who didn't play these games back in the day would react to this game.
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? If you've no idea what Monkey Island is, then you're going to get a lot out of
this. If you
this.
played the re-releases of Monkey Island recently, well, in the last decade, on Xbox and... I don't know if they came out on PS4, and you liked them, you'll like this. If you played them back in the day and you think you liked them, then you will definitely like this because it fixes all those things. But if you're coming at them blind, I have no idea if somebody would like them. I hope they would, but it's maliciously old.
Fair enough.
It's got the old clunky UI. It's got...
and unapologetic about it.
Unapologetically old.
Yeah.
And small things. Turn on subtitles in the game. It made all the difference. Because what was missing? I was playing along, had lovely all voiced.
It's all fully voiced.
Yeah, and I realised it wasn't putting the subtitles on the screen, and that felt wrong to me.
They never had voice stuff back then.
They did on the CD releases.
Well, yeah, but not the full thing, surely.
Sam Max did.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, the traditional experience is the text.
Yeah, and the text came out. It's just odd. Just a bit in my back of my brain was saying something's not right here, up until the point I turned it on, and then that's what it was. So yeah, very good game. I like it. Cool. Don't know if you will.
Okay.
I know you will, but I don't know if you
will.
I'll
probably keep an eye out, grab it at some point.
Yeah.
And then rave about it. Hooray! I've discovered this fantastic thing. Like in 7 months' time.
2 years, I reckon.
3 years, 3 months rule, whatever. Yeah.